My name is Marley Dias. I'm a 20-year-old junior at Harvard University. I study sociology and African American studies.
This is Marley Dias. She's a big deal. She's the one behind 1,000 Black Girl books.
This week, I'm reading Gods of Manhattan by Scott Mabus.
In the fall of 2022, there were about 7.4 million Black people in public schools across the US. By the way, that data is from the National Center for Education Statistics, and they collect data every year. Not many of the books those 7.4 million students read had a main character that looked like them. So Marley, at 11 years old, created a solution.
My journey to social justice and public service really started over at the Livingston Diner in New Jersey with my mom. And we were reflecting on what I felt like could have been different about my 5th grade year. And I was sick and tired of reading about white boys and their dogs. Although I had a really amazing, super cool, very reading focused 5th grade teacher, he wasn't being kind of aware. The reason why maybe some of the kids weren't as inclined to read is because they aren't seeing themselves. It's because they aren't seeing narratives that reflect kind of the diversity of the world around them. And I wanted to start 1,000 Black Girl Books as a challenge to myself to really see if I could bring people together that recognize this problem. I decided to collect 1,000 books with Black girls as the main character and do this through a social media campaign. And really seeing the outpouring of how many, not only people of my generation, people of all generations, really showed to me that what I was experiencing was a generational problem.
I started this campaign when I was 10 years old, thinking I would barely make it by the skin of my teeth to 1,000 books. But now we've collected over 11,000 as I turn 13 in a couple of days.
So now, 10 years later into this work, it's less about collecting and donating the books and more about being really critical of our current education systems. And I really want to be the person or the story that people can hear to say, wow, if I experience something in schools, whether it's bad lunch food or bullying or racism or sexism or anything in the education system, I should say something about it.
What Marley just talked about is activism. It's taking the action, the steps, using your voice to change something in society.
Activism is not a full-time career. You don't need an award for it. You don't need anything for it. That you can just go out there, engage your community, speak on issues, and create changes that matter to you and that can last. But I think it's really important for parents to acknowledge that when their kid comes to them with a problem, when their child comes to them with energy, you have to nurture that. So if your child comes to you and is like, I want better school lunches at school, it's first taking the step of acknowledging that problem is real, celebrating them for identifying it, and asking them what they'd like to do in their dream kind of world to fix it. Then it's about studying and actually learning about your communities. How do school budgets work? Who are the food providers? What are some better options that you could propose? And really working step by step to create plans. Start small with the community and breaking down the problem itself. Because once you teach a child how to identify something as systemic, I think it's a skill they can apply to other things.
Ooh, a systemic problem. Systemic means something that affects the entire system. Think about it like when you have a cold. The whole body's affected, the whole system is affected. And then you do different things to solve all the problems. You rest because your body is tired fighting the germs. Drink a little tea to soothe your throat. Maybe take some medicine to help with the congestion. Marley identified that the lack of books with Black girls as the main character was a systemic problem in the education world.
Because once I got that knowledge that I wasn't the only girl that wasn't seeing Black girls reflected in schools, I was really able to recognize the sense of urgency there.
I mean, it totally does make sense that she has a library named after her at an elementary school in Los Angeles.
View Park Elementary School in Los Angeles has just opened a brand new library. And guess what? The students chose to name it after me.
The Marley Dias Library is the greatest honor and accomplishment of the work I have done by far. I used to always say when I was a kid that I wanted to be president just so I could have a library named after me. So now I don't have to run for president. It really makes me feel very hopeful.
The world met Marley at 11 years old, and now she's 20 at Harvard University. And she's a change maker. So I had to ask her, what's gonna happen next?
The work with 1,000 Black Girl Books is not done necessarily, but it's definitely surpassed any and all expectations. I want to focus on physical spaces now a lot more than digital activism, and thinking about how do we get places like the Marley Dias Library for students all over the country. I just launched a newsletter called Third Space. It's going to be a weekly arts and culture newsletter. I'll be talking about people I've met at Harvard, the things I'm learning here. So trying to give people a little bit of a snapshot into my mind and like the way that I really think. And then long term ahead, I'm graduating from Harvard in May 2026.